Welcome to Restore the Roar. It was a great first session this morning. I'm sure you'll enjoy it just as much as that group did. Brian's a great speaker and a lot of great motivational thoughts within that program. So one quick thing before I introduce Brian. If you look to your left and your right, you'll see the fire exits. The fire marshal requires the theater now, when there are meetings in here, to make sure everybody is aware if there's a fire, that's where you have to run to. So, and when you get through those doors, you can either go out to the front or the back. So I don't think it'll happen, but in case it does, we're all prepared. Today I want to introduce Brian Garver, who is Vice President of Keybridge. Brian is a passionate business development leader in the healthcare revenue cycle space and is also recognized as an expert facilitator, speaker focused on patient experience, organizational culture, employee engagement, and building strong, highly effective teams. Delivering an engaging, compelling message that truly hits home, his message will inspire new, thoughtful changes within your team. His excitement is contagious when sharing fun, interactive presentations, using video, audio, and visual clips that make this one of the most engaging, fun, and interesting you will see. Brian's ability to touch each and every attendee with humor, emotion, empathy, and care has made his presentations nationally recognized and highly sought after. Brian's speaking engagements have taken him across the country from New York City to Austin, Texas to Los Angeles, California. Please help me welcome Brian Garver.
Thank you. Appreciate that. If any of you had to try to read from an iPad, like he just pulled that off, and it's impressive. Hi guys, what's up? It's gorgeous here, isn't it? Is this what the weather's like all the time? Yeah, that was a joke, right? Absolutely not. It's been since I got here yesterday, though. So like David's saying, my name's Brian. I want to keep today super informal. Like, if you guys got a thought or an idea, just shout it out at me. But this topic we're going to talk today about has been wildly popular. I mean, I've literally been all over the country speaking about this, and that's not really what I do for a living. I mean, what I do for a living is totally different, but what happened was people started asking questions. Well, how is your company doing this? How did you explode onto the scene? What are you doing that's different than other organizations like yours? And it got us thinking, and we just said, well, we showed them, and next thing you know, you start getting invited around to talk about it. And that's the story I'm going to share with you guys today. But I'm from Lima, Ohio. Any of you ever been to Lima, Ohio? Are you serious? There's 3, 4, 5? What were you doing in Lima, any of you? And you just kept right on going, didn't you? It's right on 75. What'd you guys say? Visiting. Drove. Thank you. I often forget about that fun fact. Did you guys hear? Glee. Remember the show Glee? The singers, all that? That show was based on a school in Lima, Ohio. That's why the director of Glee, his grandparents lived in Lima, Ohio, and so when he came up with that concept or whatever, or I should say the writer, not director, he based it in Lima. So we'll have to remember that one, Kayla. So anyways, I was talking to my daughters, and I was telling them where I was coming, and they're like, where? Because I've never been to the UP ever, so thank you for having me. Marla, by the way, I met her. The reason I'm here is because of her. You guys all know Marla? Amazing Marla. So that's right. Give it up. So I was speaking about this exact topic at a Michigan Rural Health Conference down in Mount Pleasant. And Marla was the perfect student. I could tell right away before we even started because the presentation was getting ready to start. It's in this big conference center. And guess where Marla sat? You guys know her so well. I mean, just like you ladies, she was bam. And I mean, she had her pen out. She had her notepad ready. I mean, she was on it. And sure enough, afterwards, she's like, oh my gosh, Brian, we got to talk. Da-da-da-da-da. She goes, the team at War Memorial will love to hear this presentation. And so here we are today. Thank you. Good job. But anyways, I was talking to my daughters, and I told them I was coming up here, and they were like, what are you going to do up there? Because when you look at it on a map, you're like, wow. It's kind of rural, which it is. But we got up here last night in time for dinner, and I got to show you guys what I did. It was awesome. I mean, first of all, the Bigfoot thing, right? So you guys all know where that's at, downtown. Total coincidence. I didn't know that was going to be here, but as I was packing the other day, I was throwing stuff in my suitcase. Guess what socks I threw in my suitcase? Bigfoot socks. Swear. Threw them in there. And then I saw that, and I'm like, okay, we got to get a picture of me and Bigfoot. And then the best place where you get lake perch and french fries in town, Lock View. It's the one and only. So we had dinner there, and then we went across the street into the viewing area, went through the museum. We got to see a 750-foot barge come in and go through the lock. It was awesome, really. So I can't wait to go home and show all the pictures and tell the stories. But what we're going to talk about today, though, guys, on a serious note, is life-changing. I mean that sincerely. Culture and the understanding of the criticalness of culture changed my life. Personally, it changed our company's life. It saved our company's life. I'll even go as far to say that. It saved our company's life. And that's the kind of journey I'm going to take you on today and kind of share that story with you of what it did for me personally, for our company, and also what it's doing for other organizations across the country. I will say this. When I got a chance to meet Marla, I asked a lot of questions about your organization, and I realized right away, you guys have great culture. You focus on it. It's important. I think what you're going to see today is how can we raise the bar? How can we continue up that mountain? Because the peak is still up there, and we can get there. So I want to share and kind of take you through that journey a little bit. And there was something else I was going to mention, and now I can't remember what it was. It'll come to me later. Okay, so talking about culture for a second. Here's something neat. You're surrounded by culture every day, aren't you? I mean, your family has culture, doesn't it? Your dinner table conversation, or maybe the lack of a dinner table conversation, that has culture. Your kid's school, any of you mom and dads out there, does your kid's school have culture? Yeah. How about our government in Washington, D.C.? Does it have culture? Yeah. Does your team, your department, and your hospital have culture? You're surrounded by it all day, every day. Everybody is. But what happens is most organizations are so focused on what they're trying to achieve, they're busy. That culture is just happening. It's over here just starting to evolve. It's creating itself, isn't it? And people are even unaware of it. They're like, yeah, it is what it is. And that's why it's so critical. Because culture dominates everything. It dominates how we feel. It dominates how we perform. It dominates how we're compensated. It dominates how our lives go, our happiness, our fulfillment. It's dominated by culture. At home, at school, at work, in government, everywhere. Yet, so many pay so little attention to it. So I think today, your eyes will be opened, I hope, and it'll be something that changes you as much as it has me. So I came across this video. I was like, oh my gosh, we got to share this. It's only 3 minutes long, but this to me is perfect of what I felt it feels like to work in healthcare for the first time. See if you guys can associate with that.
All right, girls, listen carefully. This is the wrapping department.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the candy will pass by on this conveyor belt and continue into the next room where the girls will pack it. Now, your job is to take each piece of candy and wrap it in one of these papers and then put it back on the belt. You understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Let her roll! Let her roll! Well, wait here. Somebody's asleep at the switch.
What are you doing up here? I thought you were downstairs boxing chocolates.
Oh, they kicked me out of there fast.
Why?
I kept pinching them to see what kind they were. This is the 4th department I've been in.
Oh, I didn't do so well either.
All right, girls. Now, this is your last chance. If one piece of candy gets past you and into the packing room unwrapped, you're fired.
Yes, ma'am.
Let her roll!
Oh, this is easier.
Yeah, we can handle this, okay? Listen, Ethel, I think this... I think we're fighting a losing game. Here she comes.
Fine, you're doing splendidly. Speed it up a little!
Am I the only one that's ever felt that way at work? You guys feeling me? You've been there, right? It's crazy. Healthcare is nuts. But that's why we got to have people that love it, that are passionate about it. Because if you didn't, you'd get out of it. Because it's wild, isn't it? There's constant changes in compliance and regulations and a new system. I heard you guys went to Meditech. When was that? A year, 2 ago? Year and a half now? Yeah, I bet that was fun. Yeah, but that's what we do, right? It still is. That's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. But you know what? There is a prescription. There is a cure for the chaos. And it's culture. It is. That's the cure. I need a little feedback from you guys on this. So let me first by saying, when I first started talking about culture a little bit, I'm like, gosh, how do I explain culture? Because culture is kind of think about it. I mean, it's just this big gray thing. I don't know how to define it. It's really kind of complicated, but it's not, is what I learned. Probably the best definition of culture I found is this one. It's your identity as an organization. Your identity as an organization. It's the way you operate, the way you communicate with each other. Let me say that middle line one more time. The way you communicate with each other. That's culture. The decisions you make, the way in which you make them. That's it. But you know what's so funny about that middle one? As I travel and get to speak to different groups and learn about different healthcare organizations, one thing is common. It has been for years. We're all focused on patient satisfaction, patient experience, and that's how it should be, right? Patient experience, patient experience, patient experience. But what's so crazy to me is sometimes what I see is how we treat each other within our own walls. It's shocking. And I can't say that's the case here, but I do see it in other hospitals I go to. And the way they talk to each other sometimes blows me away. I'm like, gosh, how can you be that way with each other? But then when a patient comes by, it's like some magical switch we're supposed to be able to flip and like, oh yeah, let me put on my smile. I'm really in a great mood. Hello, Mrs. Johnson. We're glad you're here today. Here's the procedure you're going to be getting. Da-da-da-da-da. Come on. True patient experience, real patient experience begins right here, with this group of people. That's where it begins, that's where it ends. And that's the foundation of it. You know, it's comical for some of the folks out there in the world that I talk to think they're going to provide a great customer or patient experience when their own internal experience is a nightmare. And whose job is it to create a great experience internally? It's ours. You know, it's ours. We're going to get into that a little bit. Anybody ever use one of these clickers? When you point it at the screen, it doesn't work. That's not where the stuff is. The stuff is, right? I always do that. I'm like, so when you think of an enviable workplace culture, the kind of culture like, hey, yeah, I want to work there. I want to be part of that. What are some words that come to mind? I mean, I want to hear from you guys. What are some words that would describe an enviable workplace culture? What do you guys think? Happy, yes, amen on that. Flexibility, amen on that. What else? That's a good one. I like it. What else? Imagine a great workplace culture. What are the words that pop in your head? Respect. I like that. Yes, ma'am. Untoxic, not toxic. Yeah, I always think of the green waste dump and the fumes coming off of it. It's toxic. So untoxic, correct? Anybody else got a good one? Okay. You guys are on this, and I want you to be thinking in that terms about what an enviable culture is. And it is all those things that you mentioned. Healthcare is not easy. I think you guys would agree. It's as many business experts will say now, healthcare has been described as the most complicated business on earth. And I agree. I think it is. But I want to be part of that. You know, I really do. Because someday I won't be here anymore, but I want to be able to look back and say, wow, we did something. You know, we accomplished things, and that's why we're all here. But healthcare is not an easy job. In our world, in my world, I'm going to tell you about our journey we took. You know, at Keybridge, it was really tough. You know, we started as a small company. We started in the basement of a house back in 1981. And the company grew and grew and grew and grew. And I'm going to share some other stories about that later. But the things that we do is we marry the healthcare and the financial aspect of it. You know, when it's time to pay the bills, we're the company that sends out statements on behalf of hospitals. We send the patient liability statements. Our company makes the outbound phone calls. We get the patient on the phone. We set up payment plans. We collect that money. That goes on. And then we also have a division in our company that if it goes to medical bad debt, that's Keybridge also that handles medical bad debt. So it's tough, grueling, emotionally exhausting work. And these are the emotions that often are involved with both the patients and people that do that type of work. You know, I wanted to bring this up because I wanted to share something with you guys. I talked about how culture saved our lives. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, you hear the stories of when at Keybridge, you'd go out in the parking lot after work. And just like you guys know how it feels like, it's been a long day. And people would be filing out into the parking lot at Keybridge after work, and it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening. But you know what you'd see at Keybridge back then out in the parking lot? You'd see people coming out in tears. I mean, hugging each other. I mean, literally, emotionally done. Physically exhausted, just spent. And then they had to go home to their families and then come back in the next morning and do it all again. I mean, I've felt that way before. We probably all have at times. But thank God. I mean, that was the moment when our company said, enough. Enough. We got to fix this. And thank God we did. At that moment was when Scott Koenig, our president, said, you know what? Culture is going to be our number one objective. It's going to be our number one priority. Patient experience, yep, that's important. Client experience, yep, that's important. But you know what's more important? Our associate experience. And it changed our lives. I mean, we blew up on the scene like we couldn't have imagined, nationally recognized, and I'm gonna share some of that with you, all because we just changed that. We didn't change anything else. What happened was we suddenly became a nationally recognized company. Just 3 months ago, Keybridge was awarded again Best Places to Work in the Nation by Modern Healthcare. And you know who else is on that list? It's pretty amazing when I look at it. I was just so excited 3 months ago when I saw it. It said, Best Places to Work in America by Modern Healthcare, the Cleveland Clinic. I was like, they're pretty good. Oklahoma Heart Institute, they're pretty good. Keybridge Medical Revenue Care out of Lima, Ohio. And I can't tell you how good that felt. Nationally recognized. And again, it's culture, it's culture, it's culture, it's culture. That's what we're going to drill down on today. The one thing I'll start with is this, folks. Perspective was that aha moment when we decided culture was going to be our priority. Because what we figured out real quick is living in the weeds every day like we were, we thought that would change. It doesn't. The weeds don't go away. Have you ever felt like that? You get into work in the morning, and right there, you're back in it. You're in the weeds again. And you work at it all day long. You work at it all day long till you're exhausted. You go home that night, and you kind of forget about it for a little bit, maybe, hopefully. And then as soon as you walk in the next morning, it hits you like right in the face. Like, oh, there's the weeds again. We learned that the weeds weren't going to go away. Because that's why we exist, is because of the weeds. It's why you exist, because of the weeds your community has, what they're going through, what the patients are going through. It's why you exist. It's why our company exists. We need the weeds. But it's our perspective of them that had to change. And that was a hard lesson for us to learn, but it was so valuable. Because what we really found is that the weeds aren't going to go away, but there's extraordinary, beautiful things down in there. Committed, great, passionate people that care. Great talent. So those were the things we had to start becoming thankful for, our relationships, our clients. And it really changed kind of how we looked at things. So I've got another little short video I want to share with you guys. You'll like this. I apologize, it doesn't have Lucille Ball in it. And I know, David, you're a big fan, so. But it's about 3 minutes long. Promise me this, though, you guys. Stick with me on this short video, all right? Again, it's not Lucille Ball. The messages in this video are really, really important ones. And after we show it, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you what messages jumped out from you in this video. Apple, right? You know, they started in somebody's garage. Some similarities. Started in the basement, started in the garage. They've done okay. I love that video. I've seen it 500 times, honestly. Still share it with our team at times when I feel like perspective needs, we got to get it in check again, because it's easy to lose track of that. And we need a reminder about perspective. But what jumped out at you? What message jumped out at you in that video? What do you guys think? Anybody? Bueller. Yeah. It said the one thing that will always change will be the one thing that will always stay the same, right? Is it'll just keep happening. Yes. What else? Good. Yes. See things. It said choose to see things differently. Trust in that, right? Because the ordinary, choose to see it from a different perspective and see the extraordinary in it. Yes. What else, guys? Yeah, perspective changes everything. You know, we were talking to the group this morning, and a couple things that jumped out with that group, I love it, was one of them was relentless optimism. You know, that's a big deal. You know, when you're climbing a mountain, and sometimes the peak looks unobtainable, can't get there. Relentless optimism is why we get out of bed with passion. You know, and not just being optimistic, but relentlessly in the face of fire, really digging down deep. That's perspective. I was joking with the earlier group. You know, my oldest daughter, she's a freshman in college this year, and she thinks that she's optimistic. And I'm like, okay. She hasn't seen, the world hasn't hit her in the face yet. You know, she's still in college, and I'm paying her bills. So it's coming. But you know what? I like that she's trying that, though. She's trying to be optimistic, and she really is. But relentless optimism is a big deal. The other one I'll mention up there, guys, said trust. Trust that there's always a better way, another way, a bigger way, right? Because there is. No matter how good we are, there is a better way. And we'll figure it out eventually. If it was easy, we would have already figured it out. But it's not. We'll keep going, though. We'll keep evolving. We'll keep grinding, and we'll find that better way. On and on and on and on. The other thing I like about that video, did you guys notice how when the camera angle was looking at a message from this angle, it said one thing, but then the camera angle changed, and when it looked at it from a different perspective, the message changed? You guys see that? That's perspective. Just choosing to look at things a little differently. All right, beat that horse. Would you guys agree with that statement? You guys agree with that? Right? Yeah, that's true. Don't be scared. I think it really rings true, especially in your world. You know, why we do what we do is what really drives us to be amazing. Any clinical people in here? They must have came in the morning session. No clinical folks? Okay, there's a few. You guys are so shy. The morning group's like, ah! Maybe they just had coffee. It was 8 a.m. I don't know. And we're like, it's 2:30, Brian. I'm exhausted. I get it. Kayla and I were just talking. I'm like, I need coffee after we're done. What the heck was I talking about? Why we work determines how well we work. You know, you think about that for a second. We need to understand our why. You need to know. Because that's what will give you jet fuel. That's what makes us amazing. It's what enables us all to climb the mountain. You know, and the why is our jet fuel. And your team should talk about that regularly. Because we got to fill each other's tank. You know, I talk about that a lot with culture. I mean, work alone in healthcare, it drains our fuel tank, doesn't it? I mean, it drains us. So what's refueling our tank? How do we get more fuel? It's got to come from each other. And it comes from the things we talk about, how we talk to each other. Remember I described culture earlier, definition, how we communicate with each other? That's how we fuel each other's tank. It also can defuel some people's tank, right? If how you're communicating is not a good one, not a good way. But I don't want you to lose sight of that. That was a big aha moment for us at Keybridge too, before we became a best places to work company. We didn't think or talk about that ever. Now we talk about it every day. Why are we doing this? Why is this important? Why is this activity? Why is this initiative? Why is this spreadsheet? Why is this new 27-step process important to us, to our clients, to our patients? Why? Because when everybody understands the why, we're more likely to be like, yeah, hey, that makes sense. Let's go. You guys with me? You feeling that? You guys agree? Okay. All right. So any of you out there ever watched The Family Feud? Some of you, yes. Got one person, thank you. So Family Feud, right? Survey says, number one answer, bling, bling, whatever, okay? So survey time. This was a survey done, and we found out why, what are the top 6 reasons why we go to work? Number one answer's on the board. What do you guys think in the survey was the number one answer? Yeah, he's like, amen, brother. I know when payday is. It's marked on my calendar. Money, I got bills, right? And they keep coming. It's like they multiply every time I go to the mailbox. I'm like, wow, those things just, they don't stop. Why else? What were some of the other answers people gave of why they work? What do you guys think? Thank you. Personal satisfaction. It's fulfilling. It's meaningful, right? Why else do some people work? Insurance. It's kind of the money thing, right? So we can afford insurance and afford health care. What else? To provide for our family. Yes. Yeah, experience is a good one. I like that. I was doing this exact session for a hospital in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'll never forget this young gal in the audience. She's like, I go to work. She had a southern drawl. She goes, I go to work to get away from the kids. She goes, I need some adult communication in my life. And I'm like, I feel that, because our girls are grown now. But, man, I remember when they were little, I'm like, oh, my gosh, I think I got to go to work. It's Saturday at 5 o'clock, Dad. Yeah, it's a tough job. So let's look at this. 6 reasons why we work. You were right. Economic pressure was the number one answer, right? Another one was emotional pressure. A lot of people said, you know what, I feel emotionally pressured by society. I'm supposed to work. My neighbors think I should. Society thinks I should. Everybody. They look at me like I have 4 eyeballs if I don't work. And that's true. Have you ever met somebody and you're like, hey, I'm Brian. I work at Keybridge. What do you do? And they're just like, I don't work. You'd be like, oh, you're one of them. One person earlier said, yeah, you're one of them lucky ones. That's true. Another group said inertia. It was called inertia. There's a whole category of people that when asked why they work, they couldn't even give a good answer. They scratched their head. They're like, gosh, why do I work? I hate my job. My coworkers are really annoying. They just slashed our benefits. They pay me peanuts. Good question. Why do I work? You hear that argument a lot now. People say, well, it costs less for me to stay home than to work and pay daycare. I mean, sometimes the math doesn't work, does it? But then there was this other group of people that said, you know what? I have fun. I enjoy work. I enjoy it. Other people said, my work is fulfilling. It gives me purpose in life. I mean, I lay my head down at night and I just feel good about what I'm doing. And other folks said that their career is giving them potential to meet their dreams. They have goals in life and their career is helping them get there. So what's this have to do with culture, Brian? Well, we were looking at the survey and we're like, gosh, I think I fit into that category on the right. I love my job. I really, really do love it. Can't imagine doing anything else. But I wouldn't do it for free, right? I mean, the left side matters, doesn't it? We got to get paid. But let me ask you a question. If Brian showed up at work every day at Keybridge or came here. And the only reasons I was doing it was for the reasons on the left, for my paycheck. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good do you think Brian would be on most days? A 3? 1? Maybe 5 on a Friday? Right. Guys, it matters. Me being involved in a culture that provides those things on the right allows me to be the best version of me every day. And everybody else in our company. We can be the best version of ourselves. And that's what culture is. It helps us accomplish that and stay focused on the things on the right. We have to get paid. I don't want to misconstrue that, folks. And you know what's funny? Is I get paid, and you know what? I want more. We all want more, don't we? I mean, I want a pay raise tomorrow. I do. But I can't get out of bed every day, and that's my only objective for going to work. I mean, I will be miserable. I'll be miserable, and I'll make people around me miserable too, I promise. So let's talk about culture by default. Culture by default is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Organizations, schools, government, healthcare, it doesn't matter, where they're just doing their job, working hard, but culture's just happening, and it's becoming whatever it's going to become. It's unplanned, it's not managed, it's not chosen, it's just left to chance. It's a roll of the dice. And this is what it feels like. I'm going to be a 1 or a 2 if that's what it feels like. How can I be the best version of me? It doesn't work. Culture is it's the foundation of everything. So let's give a couple quick examples. I'm not going to get into this because of shortness on time, but culture by default. Does anybody have a spouse that works for the DMV? Okay, good. Because I don't know about up here, but man, down in Ohio, they need some culture. They're so mad. Why are they mad at me for coming in to give them money for a new registration, a sticker that goes on my license plate? Why am I the bad guy? I don't know, but they're mad. Let's flip the page. Let's talk about culture by design. Now, this is an illustration of organizations that chose culture. They said, nope, it's going to be a priority. And that's planned, chosen, managed. And that's how it feels. I'm going to be an 8, 9, or 10 most days when that's the environment I'm in. It matters. You know, let me give you guys a few examples. I could put 100 up there. I'm fascinated by organizations that have become elite. They're the best of the best. It fascinates me to study them and understand them and why, what happened, what they do different. Because it's usually almost always never their product, by the way. It's something else, and it usually is people. But let's talk about a couple of these. Let's talk about Zappos. That's a good one. Anybody know what Zappos is? The women in the back are like, oh yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm on my iPad right now. Get me some new shoes. Right? Zappos sells shoes, right? That's their main business. They do some other stuff now, but you know what I found out about Zappos? They sell shoes. They sell 100,000 pairs of shoes a day. A day, 100,000 pairs. They do it online. Now, does Zappos have any competition? Everywhere. There's a million places people can buy shoes online, right? There's a million places up and down the streets in America where you can go buy shoes. But they're dominating. They're kicking their competition's rear end. And I'm like, why? Well, I got online and I did a little research, and I found out that they're very proud of their culture. As a matter of fact, I follow them on LinkedIn now and on Twitter. If any LinkedIn and Twitter folks, you can follow their page. They talk a lot about culture. So, anyways, I'm looking at one of their videos online, and the president of Zappos is talking. And this guy is so proud of his company. He's talking on and on about his company. And I mean, he's like a father of a newborn baby. You know, he's like he's holding his baby and he can't get the smile off his face. He's so excited. And I'm like, what is going on with this guy? I mean, he's so passionate. And I'm watching the video and I'm like, he's going to say the word. And I'm watching the video. He keeps talking. I'm like, I know he's going to say that word. And I'm watching the video, and I'm thinking it's almost ending. He's going to say it. I know he's going to say the word. And the video ended, and he never said it. You know what word he never once mentioned ever the whole time? Shoes. He never talked about shoes. He could care less that it's shoes. He's proud of the culture, the people, how they choose to do things differently and view things differently. Relentless optimism. And I'm like, man, this guy's got it. And look at his company, it's booming. And he goes on to say that at Zappos, when you start there, he goes, I know this is crazy. He goes, my friends and colleagues give me a hard time about it. He goes, but you go through 3 months, 90 days of orientation and training to work at Zappos. Everybody, every associate, 3 months. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's not like you're going to work for NASA. I mean, it's selling shoes online. But he said, nope. He goes, I do it, and I sleep like a baby at night because of it. He goes, I have no problem sleeping. He goes, because I know that after an employee goes through 3 months of that orientation about our culture, he goes, they believe it. And they're passionate about it. And they'll always make the right decision for our customer. Always. He said, now sometimes they might do it in a way that I wish they would have done it a little bit differently, but they'll always get to the right destination with that customer. And he says, I'm so confident about the 3-month thing that what he does is at the end of 3 months, he offers every new associate at the end of their training and orientation a check for $2,000 if they'd like to leave. And he says, you know what? I get a few people that take it. He goes, and I'm happy to write the check. He goes, giving them $2,000 because they don't believe it. They're not passionate about it. He goes, giving them $2,000, fine. He goes, it just saved me, I guarantee you, $200,000 in lost business, lost reputation, bad customer service. The list goes on and on. I'm like, wow, this guy gets it. And he puts his money where his mouth is. You know, I was with one group, and I said, hey, anybody heard of Zappos? And there was a guy in the back. He goes, yeah, Zappos. He goes, they make those really good cigar lighters. No. Let's talk about a couple of any Starbucks groupies in the room. Jackie's like, Starbucks people crack me up. It's like you guys are in a cult. It's like you have your app, and you're like, you know, I travel with people sometimes that are Starbucks groupies too, and they have the app, and they're like, Brian, on my app, you need to pull off at exit 73. There's a Starbucks right off the highway. I'm like, okay. And they're like counting it down. Okay, it's 0.4 of a mile right up here. Okay, 0.2, you turn around. I'm like, I got it. I mean, they're like obsessed. But it's culture. You know, they talk about it. Starbucks is very proud of the culture they've created, not for themselves, but for their customers and how they make customers feel. That's what it's all about to them. I'll mention Disney just because we all love Disney, right? Everybody loves Disney. There was a gal in Jackie's office I met today who's leaving tomorrow to go to Disney. Is she here? Because I was going to see if I could catch a ride. Yeah, so anyways, Disney's amazing, isn't it? We will max out our credit cards to go to Disney, pay it off for 5 years with interest. Don't care. We're nuts, aren't we? But Disney has us hooked. They have us hooked. What's that? Yes, thank you. It's the experience. They make you feel like $1 million. Happiest place on earth. You should be a Disney commercial. You're a fan too, like me, right? We love it. We love it. So, you know what's funny about Disney? We max out our credit cards there, and we get there, and I've got a little tip for everybody. Disney's roller coasters suck. Don't they? I mean, come on. I mean, I'm in Ohio. Anybody ever been to Cedar Point? Amen, sister, right. The roller coaster capital of the world, Cedar Point, and it costs $49, right? Instead, we spend $4,900, go to Disney, we sweat, it's hot, we're miserable at times, you know, we're taking our kids around, we're like inches within cardiac arrest. It could happen at any moment, but we do it because we believe in the experience. We believe here in the experience of how we're going to feel and the magic that our kids will feel. Disney even does it with their commercials, don't they? They don't come on TV and say, hey, come and ride our great roller coasters. What does Disney's commercials say? Come experience the magic. Yes. Thank you, front row. Come experience the magic. They got it. Every one of these companies will happily tell you, can go online and do 5 minutes worth of research, that they became elite and they truly hit their success when they started making their number one priority culture. They'll happily say that. That's what changed their lives. It's not their roller coaster. It's not the coffee. It's not the shoe. You can get the shoes anywhere. Amen. Got those in Colorado. Just this summer, we were in Golden, Colorado on a little family vacation. And then they're Bigfoot crazy in Golden, Colorado, if anybody ever gets there. They're wild about it. Talk about obsessed people. I mean, they are confident Bigfoot lives somewhere in those mountains, and they're going to find him. And I kind of think it's fun, like, getting all into that. And I'm like, yeah, he's out there. Let's go get him. My girls are like, he's not either. I'm like, oh, yeah. And Santa Claus, too. I still tell them Santa Claus exists. It's just me. So communication's pretty important with great culture. I love this comic. It says, that's why we lift on 3. See the guy's feet up in the air? It's always delayed giggles when I show this, and they're never really hearty laughs. It's more like, yeah. Communication's important. We're not going to do a deep dive on communication, no. That's a whole nother thing. But I do want to share this about communication. This is critical. Human behavior science plays a big role in culture and what we do and why we do it. And that's one thing we've learned is we can't and won't ever escape our humanness. That's a great thing, by the way. But we're humans. We can't escape it. And here's one thing that's true with humans. We are driven by emotion. I mean, that's where passion comes from. Passionate decisions, passionate choices, passionate direction, whatever we're taking, it's driven here, not here. You know, proof of that, by the way, is if you've ever had a loved one or a neighbor or a best friend that's heading down a path and it's not a good one, and you see it, and so you talk to them about it, and you explain logically, look, this is bad. Here's why. Da, 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 da. I mean, it's all add up. Here's the evidence. It's really bad. But if that's where their heart is taking them, and you're trying to talk them logically into going this direction, guess which way they're going? You won't talk them out of it, will you? Because they're committed here for some reason. Emotion drives our behavior. So when you're talking to each other, remember, culture is based on how we communicate with each other. When you're communicating with each other, keep that in mind. You know, that's the way to really get passionate conversation or to get a team of people going in a certain direction. And how do you do that? Well, you talk about the why again. The why we're doing what we do is how we get emotion involved. So let me do a quick experiment with you guys. I need everybody to put their hands, clasp their fingers together. Now, Paul, bow your head. Just kidding. You're a good sport, though. He's like, okay. All right, how many of you currently have your left thumb on top? Show of hands if your left thumb is on top. Hi, I really need to see you guys. Wow, there's a lot of you. So according to human behavior science, and some studies I've read, they say that left thumb people, this is your brain speaking to you, left thumb people on top, the scale is tilted on the emotional side. That we're highly driven by emotion. Now, how many of you had the right thumb on top? I need to see all you cold-hearted, dark souls. Oh, no. Wow. Of course, it's the director of patient accounts is the right thumb. So, and And there's, according to this science, right thumb people are, the scale's slightly tipped toward the rational side. That doesn't mean that they're all like that or all the other side, but they say the scale is slightly tipped one way or the other, and you can tell through that thing. Do it with the opposite thumb once. Put your hands together and do the other thumb. Isn't it awful? I mean, it's like a sin, like you just committed a sin. It's like, oh yeah. Like you should go to confession afterwards or something. I did something really bad. It just doesn't feel right, does it? All right, so I'm gonna share with you guys and wrapping up here. Wow, time is flying. Holy cow, I'm sorry. We gotta move. We're having too much fun. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna share with you guys the 4 secrets that changed our lives. All right, 4, it's that easy. We called it Get Hooked. That was the spin on it we put on it at Keybridge. But it's 4 things. Number 1, choose your attitude. Number 2, be present. Number 3, make their day. Number 4, have some fun. 4 things changed our lives. That is the model of our culture. Nationally recognized best places to work company. It's because of that. Now let me ask you, what of those 4 things do you think is absolutely most critical? Yeah, you guys nailed it. Every group does, because y'all know. I mean, you know how critical that is, isn't it? Choosing your attitude is so critical, but it's so dang hard, Brian. I've had a bad morning. I know. But it's a choice. It still is a choice. We're going to talk about that, and the others we're going to buzz through. I love this comic about choose your attitude. You seem to like your job. We want you to hate it like the rest of us. Oh, man. So let's talk about attitude. Paul has attitude. Some swagga jagga. You know, David has attitude. Marla has attitude. Jackie has attitude. Kayla. Let's talk about my attitude. Your attitude. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's get it out here, front and center. What impacts it? Well, we did some research on this about choosing your attitude, and here's what we found. These are some things that impact our attitudes. So let's just grab a couple. For example, do you think your appearance impacts your attitude every day? Yes. Yes, it's a big deal. You know, it's so funny. When you're having a good day and you feel a little confident in your appearance, don't you just kind of have that extra swagger, Paul? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? I mean, seriously. Serious. I mean, I could have come here today, honestly, in a pair of khakis and a golf shirt, and I don't think anybody would care. I don't think anybody would be like, wow, he dressed so casual. No one would care, but you know who would know? Me. So when I was packing, there's a suit I like. Crisp white shirt, I like that. Got my Zappos shoes on because I know I wanted to come here and be my best for you today. It matters. It matters. What about who you hang with? That's a good one. Does who you hang with impact your attitude? What do you think, Paul? I see who you're hanging with. But who you hang with impacts your attitude, doesn't it? It's a big deal. And you know what's interesting as I travel around the country and meet with healthcare organizations? And I work in the healthcare industry too, so I'm the same way. We're cliquey. We are cliquey people in healthcare. It's like high school all over again. Isn't it? We get in our little groups and we're like, hey, you guys, Paul, let's get these guys and go to lunch, but don't tell them. He's like, okay, because we're going to talk about them. You know, be careful who you hang with because it's impacting your attitude, either positively or negatively. But I do know this for sure because science proves it. And science will tell us and teach us that all you have to do is find 5 people that behave a certain way, whatever that way is, 5. And you start hanging around them regularly, you will become the 6th that is that way, whatever that is. It only takes 5. We teach our kids that all the time, and then once we're adults, we're like, yeah, heck with that. I want to go with the crazy people. They're more fun. Let's do one more. What about, stimulus intake? Does that impact your attitude? I mean, what's being put in your ears and in front of your eyes every day? The news, for example. What you're reading in the paper. Social media. Does social media impact our attitude? Oh my gosh, I'm over it. And then I'm like, hold on a second, I gotta check my Twitter. It's so addictive. But it's so bad. Here's the thing, guys. We get to choose. We get to choose those things. It's our choice. Our attitude is our choice. Even if we're faking it, it's still our choice. My daughters are so tired of hearing this conversation because we've talked about, anybody else raised 2 teenage daughters? Whew. Man, I made it through. So let me show you this quick 30-minute or 30-second. This girl has got it going on.
Look, I can be a shark. Now my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my mom. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like my hair. I like my haircuts. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house. My whole house is great. I can do anything good. Yeah. I can do anything good. Better than anyone. Better than anyone.
Is there any way in the world she's going to have a bad day? No. It's kind of corny, but we can learn a lot from that little girl. Choosing your attitude. She likes her hair. She likes her haircuts. She likes her whole house. She can do everything better than anyone. But you know what? Wouldn't you adopt her? I would. I want that in my life. I do. I want that. I want that energy around me. But guys, that's our choice. Again, we can be not that extreme. We can be that for each other. We can be that for each other. That's fueling each other's tank, all right? I love her little baby brother in the background. He's like, man, he's crying. She don't care. Real quick, a study that was done by Cantor and Mervis. This group said that their studies show that they can take any group of people and break us up into 3 sections. Glass half empty, glass half full, and the wary. The people that are like, oh my God, I don't know what group I'm in today. Right? That's me. Which group do you think is the glass half empty group? Red. It is. Sad but true. And here's what's interesting about the study. It goes on to say that, you know what? We all end up in the red day to day. We all do. The key is recognizing it and knowing it. And we know when we're in the red. We know it when our attitude's in the toilet. The key is just snapping out of it, choosing to say, you know what? I'm not going to spend my day here. I'm not going to live in the red today. I'm going to choose to get out of it somehow, some way. They went on to say, at a session like this, a gentleman spoke up and went on to say, he said, hey, Brian, speaking of that, he said, do you know the difference between a rut and a grave? And I said, no. He said, only the depth. And I thought, man, isn't that true about getting in the red? When we're in the red, guys, that's in a rut, and it's leading us nowhere. We're no good for ourselves. We're miserable. The people around us, we're making them miserable. It is no good for us, them, anybody. We got to snap. When we feel it, we just got to choose to snap out of it. And my friends always give me a hard time. They're like, Brian, you're always the green guy. You're always smiling. You're always happy. You got a good attitude. Because if you're on drugs, Brian, there's help. Whatever you need, we need, if you need some help. And I'm like, no, I'm not on drugs. I don't even like you guys that much. But I do fake it sometimes. You know what? If I'm having a bad day or a bad moment, most people would never know. Because I don't want to dwell on it. I really don't, because it's a downer for me, and it keeps me there. The more I dwell on it, it just keeps me there. I'd rather get on with something more positive and force myself to smile, force myself to stand up straight, force myself to do something positive for somebody else, because that starts making me feel better. I'm doing it selfishly because I want to feel better. That's the secret. Recognizing that we're all in the red from day to day and then snapping out of it. That's the key to choosing your attitude, right? It's hard, but we can do it. Okay, choose your attitude. Next one, be present. What does be present mean when you hear that? What do you mean be present? What do you guys think? Anyone? Thanks, Paul. Be present now, right? Be present in the now. Be engaged, right? Don't just show up to work. People know this at Keybridge. Don't dare come into our company, if you're part of our team, and come into a meeting and just be totally disengaged. They'll find the door. I mean, that's what we always tell them. We hired you because we love you. You're amazing. You're talented. You're bright. You're confident. You've got great skills. So bring it. Bring it. Don't sit there like, no way, man. That's part of our culture. And imagine a team of people when everybody's bringing it, their A game. You better watch out. Who's going to stop them? They can accomplish anything. And that's fun. That's fun. Climbing the mountain, climbing the ladder. So being present's a big deal, you guys. I love this comic. It says what wives say. It's about selective hearing. It says, go to the store, lay down the mulch, wash and wax the car, get the kids at school, rent some videos, and finish the rest of the dishes. But what husbands here are, go lay down and get some rest. That is totally not true, is it, Paul? It's not true. Husbands don't do that. But selective hearing, right? That's not being present. Let's keep buzzing through this so we can wrap up. These 4 ladies, they all do the same job, but which one do I want to work with? Which one does your patient want to work with? Yeah. I mean, which one's being present? Which one's listening? I mean, here's the funny thing. The one on the left, we could question her and say, why aren't you engaged? Why aren't you being present? And she might say, oh, I am. I'm listening. I'm asking them questions. I'm doing my job. Well, her body language is screaming that she's not. And that's what matters. It's perception, how we perceive her. She might argue with me. No, Brian, I was listening. I can tell you everything you said. But we got to choose to be present, not just in how we listen and how we speak, but we got to choose to show it in our body language too. It's a choice. 4 things. We can choose those. Choose your attitude, be present, make their day, and have fun. We can do that. Okay, make their day. Make whose day? What do you guys think? Whose day are we trying to make? Thank you. Yeah, everyone's. Obviously, we want to make our patient's day, but how do we get the jet fuel and the energy to do that? By doing it for each other. What are some easy ways to make each other's day? I mean easy. Compliment them, smile, say hi. Aren't compliments amazing? Do you like getting a compliment? Yeah, me too. You like it, right? Those are great earrings. Yeah, you're welcome. If you're like me, I mean, I don't know about you guys, I'm so, like, compliments feel so good. Like someone's like, hey, Brian, those are great shoes. I'm like, oh yeah, I got those at Zappos. And it's so funny, like they comment on my shoes or whatever, and like 5 hours later, I mean, they made my day. 5 hours later, it pops in my head. I'm like, hey, yeah, somebody said they liked my shoes. And then I'm like reliving the moment. And then I said, oh, thanks, I got them at Zappos. And, I mean, it's like you relive it, you know what I mean, in your head, like how the conversation went. You guys know what I mean? A compliment is an awesome way to make somebody's day. But also just simple things. Say hello, smile. Society is just, we frown so much. We'll catch people off guard when we smile at them and say hi. We're like, shock them. Shock them. Lastly, play. You know, I'll just say this about play. Play is a state of mind. It's not screwing around. Play is a state of mind. Being able to joke with each other, being able to laugh at ourselves. That's what play is. It's a state of mind. I'll share this little quote with you. I will be super impressed if anybody knows who this quote came from. It says, I like nonsense. It wakes up the brain cells. Fantasy is a necessary ingredient in living. It's a way of looking at life through the wrong end of a telescope, which is what I do. And that enables you to laugh at life's realities. Anybody know who said that? Nope. One lady in the earlier group got it. I was impressed. It's Dr. Seuss. Everybody's like, that must have been Missy. Okay, so just finishing up, guys, a few things for you to remember. Number one, discover your North Star. If you want a culture for success, know what your goals are for your team, for your department, for your organization. Have a common North Star so everybody can march and get excited about going in the same direction. Identify changes critically needed first. That's a big deal. Whether it's be present, whether it's make their day, if it's attitude, if that's what needs first, then get it on the table. Talk about it in your group meetings, your team meetings. Get it out there. Seek role models. You know, we're a great role model, I think, for people that want to really get behind culture. We have a culture team at our company. I mean, as part of their normal job, they're in charge of making culture, like literally breathing it into our lives every day at Keybridge. And without it, I don't know that I would be so into it because I get reminded of it every day and challenged. Develop tools, communicate, reinforce new behaviors, and make culture part of your hiring process. David and I were talking about that this morning. It was funny because he hadn't seen this presentation, but he talked about how when you're looking to hire people, he said, you know, sometimes you'll find somebody with great experience and great qualifications, but they don't have it here. There's no passion. He goes, but we'll find somebody that doesn't have the experience, but they've got the passion here. 9 times out of 10, he said, we got to take the person that gets it here. We can teach them the technical stuff, and I couldn't agree more. This is what matters. We can teach the other stuff. Okay, I'm going to leave you with this last thought, and then we're out of here. So as you enter this place of work, please choose to make today a great day. Stay focused in order to be present when your customers and team members need you the most. Find ways to play. We can be serious about our work without being serious about ourselves. And should you feel your energy lapsing, find someone who needs a helping hand or a word of support or a good ear and make their day. So I've got a little gift for you guys. If you go to this website, keybridgemed.com/culture, you'll have this total presentation. You'll have the videos. You'll have the research studies that I referenced so that you can talk about this more in the future. Because if we just leave this here today and it never gets talked about again tomorrow, next week, next month, then I'll fail. And I mean that. You know, it's like a diet or anything. It's got to become a lifestyle. And you guys are there. I mean, again, when I learned about your organization, culture's strong here. But let's raise the bar. So thank you, folks. I really enjoyed being part of your community, part of your hospital today. So appreciate your kindness. Thank you.